Okay, so I'm Frankie Berger. I'm from the Government Relations and Advocacy Office in Washington, D.C., and I handle state and local relations. And I wanted to just talk to you for a quick minute about what it's actually like to correspond with members of Congress. Imagine you're coming back from leading a GB trip, and you have all these new experiences, this firsthand insight, these stories that you want to share, and you want to be able to share them with your member of Congress and let them know about certain policies and systems that are in place that are perpetuating poverty housing, issues that are important to you, to Habitat, and how do you go about corresponding with them and what actually matters, right? So I'm just going to go through a couple little things here. First of all, this is a question that I get a lot. Does corresponding with your member of Congress actually matter at all? And people tend to think of Congress as this weird, opaque black hole. And I was working in that opaque black hole, and I can tell you that absolutely, yes, it definitely matters. Your voice is definitely heard, but there's a caveat, and that's that you have to be a constituent to the person that you're writing to. What happens is, as a matter of professional courtesy, if another member of Congress receives your correspondence, they'll automatically forward it on without even opening it, even phone calls, meeting requests to your member of Congress. So just don't even waste your time. The big one that you think of when corresponding with your member of Congress is mail, right? This is snail mail that I'm talking about, so actually writing down a letter. And I have to say that it really does stick out if your letter is handwritten. So write it on your own stationery, handwrite it out, make sure that it's clear. And these things are things that you really want to keep in mind. The clarity of what you're explaining. Keep it very, very concise. Keep in mind that members of Congress receive hundreds of pieces of correspondence a day. Make yours stand out by being nice and short and easily digestible to them. Make sure it's personalized. Mail pieces that have stories that matter to the person that's writing them and that actually link it to the member of Congress's district really matter the most, and they'll have the most attention given to them. Make sure your address is on it. That's how they know that you are a constituent, in fact. So if you want to get a piece of response back from the member, make sure that you put your address on there, and especially your zip code, and thank them. Okay? But a couple of little problems with snail mail is, well, first of all, since the anthrax scare, a piece of mail that's snail mail actually takes an extra 2 weeks in the process because it has to get scanned. So if you have something that's really time sensitive, you want to either send an email, have a phone call, sit down with a meeting, all three, but I wouldn't recommend sending a piece of snail mail. Also, you can send a piece of mail to the district office, but keep in mind that it might take up to a month to actually get to the DC office that way. Email, we're all used to it, it's super easy. What's absolutely key with email, though, is to make sure it's personalized, because it's so easy to just send an email through that isn't personalized at all and doesn't really bring it home. So make sure, first and foremost, that you take just a couple seconds. Makes a huge difference to personalize your email. Other than that, everything else applies. Make sure your actual physical address is included in your email to your member of Congress. Thank them. And this is key. If you have the staffer's email address that handles the issue that you want to talk with your member of Congress about, use that email address. Don't go through the member's website. Don't use the general email. Write to the staffer directly and thank them very much for their time and their consideration. That goes very great lengths to getting your point across. But what about all those bulk emails that you've been dutifully clicking on that end up in your inbox? Well, they do matter, and that's because the sheer volume of unique constituents that do click on those messages matters very much. That can elevate something in importance very quickly. If a member gets 1,000 emails, even if they are the same exact form letter, right? The one little issue there is that it doesn't matter how many times you click that button. If you send it 500 times or once, it matters the same, because members of Congress use software that actually helps them filter similarities between emails, and so they can see if an email is exactly the same and if it's coming from exactly the same person, and they'll just count your voice once. And if you think about it, that makes sense, right? You wouldn't want anybody to be represented disproportionately. You can still personalize these form emails. I highly recommend it, even if you just cut and paste it into a normal email and you send it to them with a little bit of a story or why it matters to their district. That's going to go so much further than just a normal template, push a button and send it email. So I highly recommend doing that. You can always pick up your phone and call. This is a Capitol switchboard number. It has always worked. It always will work. If they change this, I think there'll be massive protests about it. The number is 202-224-3121, and that is the operator for all of Capitol Hill. And all you have to do is either say where you're from, and they'll look it up based on your zip code, who your member is, your senator or your representative, and then they'll connect you to the office. The first thing you want to do when you talk to the person in the office is say, I am a constituent. This is like an open sesame of phrases to getting into the door with a member of Congress. You want to say that you're a constituent because then they'll listen to your concerns. You want to make sure that you've researched what the bill number is if there is a piece of legislation that you want to talk to them about directly. Make sure that you have the bill number ready so that the person who's answering the phone can take down your concerns and that they have the exact bill number that you're talking about. Ask the person who's on the phone representing the member, what's the member's position on whatever the issue that you have concerns about? So this is the clearest way to not get a fuzzy answer. Ask them what their position is, and they'll maybe give you a broader answer or a more narrow answer based on the bill number. But that's the best way to not get a brush off. Just ask them what their position is on the certain issue that you care about. This is key too, and a lot of people don't think to do this, but if you give them your address on the phone, they will have to send you a piece of correspondence back, either via email or snail mail, but they'll send you a response that covers what you were talking about in the phone call if you leave them your address. One of the best ways to correspond with your member is to actually try and schedule a meeting with them. This can be a district meeting in one of their district offices, or this can be a meeting in their DC office if you're on the Hill and you have the time to do that. It's such a great way to introduce Habitat, what we're doing, what your experiences were, issues about poverty housing, and anything else that you want to discuss with them. So I highly recommend trying to schedule a meeting just to say hi, even if you don't have a specific request in mind. These are just a couple final tips. Make sure that you thank them even if you don't agree with them. They're used to people sometimes being rude if they don't necessarily agree with the issues. Make sure you're not written off as one of those people. Thank them for their service and the fact that they've taken the time to listen to you, even if you're a little bit frustrated. They'll remember that more than anything else. And rudeness in any shape or form always gets the exact same form letter from all offices across the board, which is a thank you for your concerns, completely vague, no more information letter that you'll receive. So I wouldn't recommend being rude if you actually want to get a good response from anyone. And that's it. Thank you. Again, my name is Frankie. This is my email, fberger@habitat.org. Feel free to write me with any questions or concerns, and I'm happy to help you with those.